This is Ethan. He's 31. He makes $84,000 a year. He's tired, a little behind on retirement, and every night he opens Instagram and sees some guy in a white linen shirt telling him the same thing. You don't need a job. You need passive income. So Ethan buys the course, then a dropshipping mentorship, then a newsletter about digital products. Then he gets pitched on Airbnb automation, then real estate syndications, then faceless YouTube cash flow. And for one brief moment, he feels hope. Like maybe there's a hidden door out of the rat race and everyone else found it before he did. But what Ethan doesn't realize is that the guy on the beach is not getting rich from passive income. He's getting rich from selling exhausted people the fantasy that income can appear without labor, skill, capital, or risk. And that fantasy is one of the most expensive lies on the internet. My name is Sloan, and I spend way too much time analyzing the financial stories people get sold, so you don't have to. If you've ever looked at your paycheck, your rent, your grocery bill, your energy level, and thought, there has to be another way than this, hit subscribe. Because today we are going to perform a brutal autopsy on the passive income industry. Not passive income the concept, passive income the fantasy, and once you see the math, you're going to understand why so many smart people keep getting trapped by it. I call this the leverage mirage. The leverage mirage is when someone takes a real thing, scale, systems, automation, capital, royalties, equity, and sells it to you as if it were effortless. That is the entire business model, and because true passive income does exist. Dividends are real, bond interest is real, rental cash flow can be real, royalties can be real. Equity ownership can absolutely generate income while you sleep. But there's one detail the gurus keep hiding. Real passive income is usually purchased with one of three things: massive upfront capital, massive upfront labor, massive ongoing risk. Usually all three. That's the trick. The internet guru takes a capital-intensive or skill-intensive business model, then edits out the capital, edits out the skill, edits out the failure rate, edits out the years of unpaid work, and leaves you with a beach shot and a Stripe screenshot. And now your brain thinks this is freedom, but it isn't freedom, it's a funnel. Ask yourself this. If a business model is really so passive, why is the person teaching it posting 4 times a day, running webinars, sending sales emails, buying ads, launching upsells, hiring appointment setters, and aggressively closing strangers in the DMs? Why are they working so hard to tell you they don't have to work? Because the product was never passive income. You are the product. The dream is the product. And this is where I need to say something important. It's not your fault. You are not stupid for wanting this. You are a human being living in a period of economic exhaustion where wages feel thin, costs feel permanent, and burnout is so normalized that make money in your sleep doesn't sound greedy. It sounds like rescue. That's why this industry works. It preys on legitimate pain. Let's run the numbers. Let's say Ethan wants an extra $10,000 a month in passive income. That's the number you hear all the time online. 10 grand a month, 6 figures a year, freedom. Sounds clean, sounds simple. Now let's do the math they never show you. Let's be generous. Let's say you build a portfolio yielding 4% annually. To generate $120,000 a year, you need $120,000 divided by 0.04 equals $3 million, not $3,000, not $30,000, not just start with your phone, $3 million. That's what passive looks like when it's actually passive. And even that comes with market risk, tax considerations, inflation, and yield fluctuations. Okay, maybe real estate. Let's say you want $10,000 a month net, not gross. Net. If each property produces a very healthy $400 per month after everything, mortgage, vacancy, maintenance, capex, management, taxes, or insurance, you need $10,000 divided by $400 equals 25 properties, 25. And that assumes nothing breaks. That assumes no eviction. That assumes stable occupancy. That assumes your numbers were honest. Most people online show gross rent. They love gross rent. Look at this property. It rents for $2,300 a month. Okay, and after debt service, repairs, vacancy, roof, water heater, property manager, turnover, legal, taxes, suddenly your passive income starts looking suspiciously like a second job with plumbing. Maybe you want to live off investments conservatively. Using a 4% withdrawal rate to produce $120,000 a year, once again, $120,000 divided by 0.04 equals $3 million. There it is again. Because reality keeps saying the same thing. If you want truly passive income at a meaningful level, now you usually need a pile of assets so large that most people cannot build it quickly without decades of work, an unusually high income, an inheritance, a business exit, or a major equity event. This is the one that gets people. Courses, ebooks, affiliate marketing, dropshipping, faceless content, digital products. These are not passive at the beginning. They are front-loaded businesses. Let's say Ethan buys a $2,000 course on course creation because a guy says, build it once, sell it forever. Sounds amazing. Now let's break it down. He spends $2,000 on the course, $500 on software, $1,500 on branding, editing, tools, landing pages, maybe adds 200 hours creating content, building the offer, posting, revising, learning copywriting, shooting video, editing, failing, relaunching. That's already $4,000 cash and 200 hours. Now let's say after 6 months he makes $8,000 total. Internet gurus would frame that as proof. See, it works. But no, let's do forensic accounting. Revenue, $8,000. Cash costs, minus $4,000. Remaining, $4,000. Now divide by 200 hours. That's $20 an hour before tax. And that's if he makes the sales. And that's before refunds, payment processing, audience building, and the fact that next month he still has to market the thing. That is not passive income. That is freelance entrepreneurship wearing a fake mustache. And here's the part that should make you angry. A huge portion of passive income creators are not wealthy because they mastered passive income. They're wealthy because they found one of the most profitable markets on earth, selling hope to tired employees. Now, here's where this gets deeper. And this lie works because it attaches itself to a real change in the economy. A few decades ago, a normal middle-class person could more reasonably expect their labor to do what labor is supposed to do: pay the bills, build savings, buy a home, raise a family, maybe retire with dignity. So extra income meant upside. Today, for a lot of people, extra income means survival. That difference matters, because when the base layer of economic security gets weaker, fantasy gets stronger. You don't crave passive income because you're lazy. You crave it because active income no longer feels sufficient, stable, or humane. And the gurus know that. They don't just sell money. They sell relief. They sell time. They sell escape. They sell revenge against your boss. They sell the image of waking up to deposits instead of alarms. But that's why this content spreads so fast. It isn't really financial education. It's emotional anesthesia. But there is another psychological trick underneath it. I call this the Effort Erasure Effect. The Effort Erasure Effect is when you only see the polished, automated phase of a business and mistake it for the whole story. You see the creator after 5 years of audience building. You see the landlord after the refinance. You see the investor after the portfolio is already built. You see the software founder after product market fit. You are looking at harvest season and being told it's seed season. That's the scam. They show you the fruit and hide the orchard. Let's talk about why even rational people get trapped here, because the passive income lie is perfectly engineered for the modern brain. 1. It promises asymmetry. Your brain loves the idea that a few smart moves can beat years of grind, and sometimes that's true. But the industry takes a rare outcome and markets it like a default outcome. 2. It hides variance. You only hear from winners. You don't hear from the 3,000 people who bought the automation store, launched the course, started the faceless channel, made $173, and quietly disappeared. Survivorship bias is doing deadlifts in this industry. 3. It flatters your identity. The pitch is never, this will take years and probably fail twice. The pitch is, you are one system away from becoming the kind of person who escaped. That's intoxicating. 4. It converts shame into consumption. You feel behind. You feel tired. You feel scared. And instead of addressing the underlying system, rising costs, low savings rates, some poor margins between income and expenses, lack of capital, you buy one more vehicle, one more course, one more mastermind, one more blueprint. You don't solve the problem. You shop for a new identity. And again, that is not a moral failure. That is what a desperate market looks like when it gets industrialized. Let me put this brutally. Most passive income advice is just active income with worse accounting. The real damage isn't just losing money on a bad course, it's losing years. Because these models often do something much more dangerous than failing. They almost work. They make just enough money to keep you emotionally attached. A few affiliate sales, 1 month of Airbnb profit, a small launch, a good month in e-commerce before the chargebacks, a couple $100 in ad revenue, just enough to keep the dream alive. And now you're trapped in a weird limbo where you're still working your full-time job, still stressed, still short on capital, but now you're also doing unpaid night shifts for a business that was sold to you as freedom. So what happens? Your weekends disappear. Your attention fragments. Your relationships absorb the stress. Your real financial foundation gets delayed. Emergency fund? Delayed. Retirement investing? Delayed. Debt payoff? Delayed. Career development? Delayed. This is the hidden cost of the passive income lie. It doesn't just take money. It steals focus from the boring, unsexy moves that actually work. And those boring moves compound while you're busy chasing magic. So how do you escape this without becoming cynical? I call this the capital first framework. Because the truth is not never build extra income. The truth is, stop chasing passive income before you've built financial leverage. Here's what that looks like. Stop using the word passive for anything that still needs you. This sounds small, but it's huge. If it requires posting, customer service, constant optimization, ad management, fulfillment, editing, pitching, or personal branding, it's not passive. It is a business. Call it a business. The language matters because fake language creates fake expectations. Once you stop calling active side businesses passive, you start evaluating them correctly. What are the hours? What are the margins? What is the failure rate? What skills does this require? How long until this becomes meaningfully profitable? What does maintenance actually look like? And that honesty alone will save people thousands. Build boring leverage before sexy leverage. The internet trains you to chase exotic income streams before you've secured the basics. That's backwards. Before you even think about passive income, build a cash buffer, high-interest debt elimination, retirement contributions, low-cost index fund exposure, career leverage, or income stability. Because the first form of passive income isn't some store or course. It's the return generated by assets you own. And yes, that's boring. Boring is good. Boring pays rent. Distinguish between cash flow businesses and capital assets. This is the big mental shift. A lot of passive income content mixes together two totally different things: cash flow businesses and capital assets. A cash flow business might eventually become semi-passive, but it usually begins as deeply active. A capital asset produces return because you already own something valuable. That difference is everything. If you're starting from scratch with limited cash and limited time, you do not need fantasy. You need sequencing. First build savings, then build ownership, then let ownership pay you. That is slower. That is less sexy. That is also how reality works. If you do start a side business, treat it like skill acquisition, not rescue. This one is probably the most emotionally important. Do not enter a side business thinking, "This will save me." That mindset makes you easy to manipulate. Instead ask, "What skill am I buying? What market insight am I gaining? What proof of competence can I build? What would make this worthwhile even if it never becomes passive?" That changes everything. A side business built to escape panic often becomes a money pit. A side business built to acquire skill can still pay off, even if the original model changes. Aim for low-maintenance income, not passive income. This is the identity shift. Forget passive. Aim for low maintenance. Low maintenance income is honest. It admits that most income streams require setup, management, oversight, and periodic correction. But it also asks a better question. How do I gradually reduce the amount of labor required per dollar earned? That could mean increasing savings rate, owning broad market funds, building a niche product with repeat customers, automating a real business, after it already works, paying down obligations that reduce required monthly income, designing a life with lower fixed costs. Notice what all of those have in common. And they are not fantasies. They are systems. And systems are how adults actually get free. Here's the key insight. The guru on the beach is telling you that passive income is the shortcut. But in most cases, passive income is not the shortcut. It is the result. It is what shows up after capital, after competence, after risk, after time, after ownership. The beach is not the beginning of the story. It is the last frame of a commercial. And for millions of people, the most dangerous financial idea on the internet is not that passive income exists. It's that passive income can come first. That is the lie. Not money while you sleep. Money while you sleep before you've built anything worth owning. That is the lie. So no, you are not behind because you haven't found the right passive income hack. Nor you are living in an economy that makes active income feel fragile and then sells you fantasy as medicine. That is why this message matters. True freedom is not built by chasing the most glamorous income stream. It's built by increasing ownership, lowering dependence, and refusing to confuse marketing with math. Stop optimizing for the image of freedom. Start optimizing for the structure of freedom. Because real wealth is not, "I made money on vacation." Real wealth is, "I own enough that I don't have to panic. My bills don't control my decisions. My time is not permanently rented out. That's the game. If this video helped you, hit like, subscribe, and send it to the friend who keeps getting sold another easy passive income system every 6 months. And if you want to keep going, watch the next video on why so many side hustles secretly pay less than a normal job once you do the actual math.